We have breaking news in the closely watched Los Angeles social media trial. A jury has reached a verdict after 9 days of deliberating.
Meta and YouTube are accused of deliberately designing addictive apps that harm young users. The 20-year-old plaintiff in this case testified that she struggled with depression, anxiety, and even suicidal thoughts after years of using apps, including Instagram. Now, company executives repeatedly pushed back against those very claims.
This verdict comes after a major defeat for Meta in court just yesterday. A New Mexico jury found that the company violated consumer protection laws in a landmark case there. Now the tech giant will have to pay $375 million in civil penalties.
Joining us now, NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung, as well as NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris. Let's just start with you. Talk us through, Brian, sort of what we saw initially in this New Mexico case and the payout. We've talked about, Los Angeles trial.
Yeah, well, the updates from the Los Angeles trial are that in just the last few minutes, we did end up getting a verdict, but we have not had that verdict read by the jurors in the courtroom yet. It seems like everyone is assembling, so this could happen in the next few minutes. But again, as a reminder, what this case is about is an individual plaintiff. She's a 20-year-old that alleges while she was a minor, she got addicted to both Meta and also YouTube, Instagram, I should be more specific in terms of the Meta product, and then developed mental health issues regarding depression as well as anxiety. And the question for the jury was, how much should the companies of Meta and YouTube be liable for those particular mental health issues? Again, the verdict does suggest that there's going to be an answer to that question very soon, and we'll get it perhaps in the next few minutes.
Misty, 9 days of deliberation, multiple questions from jurors. What does that tell you?
So remember, it's really important, and we're probably about to get this verdict, but the jury had to look at each entity completely separately, as if it were two different trials, and do that assessment on liability and damages to Instagram as well as to YouTube. So that's a significant haul for the jury to go through that analysis. And it's funny because on Monday, we got a very telling jury question. And this was after 30-some hours of deliberation. The jurors went to the judge and said, can you give us some advice? Because we're having trouble coming to a consensus on one defendant. So now that we're hearing a verdict is in, that means that in these past 2 days, day and a half of deliberations, it seems that they have been able to come to an agreement. We won't know what that is because it's behind closed doors, but this verdict will be telling.
You're literally refreshing
jurors, 12 jurors, but it's not a simple majority. You need 9 in order to get that done. So that explains maybe why it took so long.
And speaking of the explanation, Brian, we're talking about Los Angeles, but I was trying to get you to go back to New Mexico because when we talked about 375, I mean, that's a big, big number from Meta. Who actually receives that payout?
I should point out that what's pretty crazy about this situation is that the New Mexico trial, which is completely separate, but also obviously concerns Meta, also concerns young teens and children with regards to the safety of those apps with those with that demographic. They happened essentially, opening statements began on the same day in February, and it only took about 1 day for the jury in that New Mexico case to come back and say, we do find Meta to be liable, and they, as you mentioned, said that the penalty of that should be $375 million. It could be more because there's going to be a final claims hearing in the first week of May, so we'll continue to monitor that situation. But again, does that really apply to the Los Angeles case? There are some similarities, but there are some differences as well. The New Mexico case also included allegations of making these young minors subject to sexual predators on the app as well. That was not the case in Los Angeles. New Mexico is about content. LA is more about the algorithm. We'll have to see. We're still waiting on this verdict.
And Misty, we talk about the more than 1,500 other cases that are lined up, waiting, watching these verdicts. You said they're very different in the way that the prosecutors approach too. One was under consumer protection. One is more of a civil, with one single plaintiff, the LA case. Explain that.
There's many different legal theories in these 1,500 cases, using New Mexico and Los Angeles as examples. So Los Angeles is about an individual plaintiff who began to use social media when she was a minor, and her allegations are that she became addicted, leading to significant mental health damages that she's now seeking to be aggrieved for. So it relates to her and the damages that she accrued from that.
We do have a verdict. Again, this is just beginning to come in, but the first defendant here, Meta, the first question was Meta negligent in the design or operation of Instagram? The jury said yes. The second question, the jury said yes. Again, this is just about Meta. YouTube is going to be separate. The second question, was Meta's negligence a substantial factor in causing KGM harm? Again, that's the plaintiff here. The answer is yes. There are a number of other questions as well, and we'll continue to follow that.
Oh, Brian Chung, Misty, thank you. Marris, breaking news in the moment. We so appreciate it. We'll be back with just a little bit more. Stay right here. You're watching Daily.
Thank you both.